what's going on with this Millie Weaver thing. It's absolutely out of control. Um, she was arrested for domestic violence, supposedly, but on the same day she's putting the final touches on a documentary about corruption in the government. I mean, what are the chances? I think there are a few alternate narratives starting to pop up as a result of this case. Um, my comment, I posted 3 videos now on this, and I thought I would do this live stream to see if anybody wanted to join in on the conversation. Um, I just wanted to make sure that I got any sort of comments. There's nobody in the live stream right now, but people might watch it later. I just thought that we needed to have a discussion about this because it is crazy what has happened to her. Um, I can't even believe that this could happen to somebody in our country. But she's a journalist. She's practicing journalism. She's putting together a documentary, and then all of a sudden the police come and knock on her door and say, "We're going to arrest you." And she has no clue why she's being arrested. They take her away in handcuffs. Her kids are kind of crying in the background. Her son is clearly distraught. The police officer doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't even know why he's there. Why would you even show up if you don't even know why you're there? Her and her boyfriend or her husband, Gavin, are being hauled away in police cars, and nobody really knows what's going on. The internet is ablaze with conspiracy theories about what happened. I mean, obviously, the fact that she was about to release this crazy documentary that exposes corruption within our government, names Republicans and Democrats and whoever else, deep staters, um, makes you suspicious. It makes you think that maybe this is more than just an arrest for burglary, domestic violence, obstruction of justice. I mean, they threw everything at her. But I've been getting lots of comments and emails, and I even got a phone call about this case because I posted some videos on it. And there is an alternative theory that's starting to come out about the case. And I wanted to have a conversation about this case because a conversation needs to be had. Something is going on here. On the in the outset, I'll kind of give you my theory of what happened. Um, so based on what I've been able to put together, this is sort of what happened. Not too long ago, and this is all conjecture at this point because there's no hard evidence that this is the story, but I've been getting phone calls, emails, and comments about this. So it's pretty clear at this point that this is sort of what happened. At some point, Millie Weaver was either working on the documentary, and she had some relatives come over. Her mother, some people came over, and they got a peek at some of the materials too. They took some pictures of it, and then they left. Millie Weaver was not happy that these pictures were taken, so they went to the mother's house or the mother-in-law's house. They confronted the mother, said, "You need to delete those pictures off your phone." The mother tells them to leave, says, "Get out of here. I don't want you here. I'm going to keep the pictures on my phone." So Gavin and Millie, or just Gavin or just Millie, again, this is just sort of the story that's forming, grabbed the phone from the mother, either smashed the phone or went into the phone and deleted the pictures, and then gave the broken phone back or gave the phone back with the deleted pictures, and then left the house. So when they did that, all the components of burglary, theft, and obstruction of justice were met. They deleted evidence, they entered a house. There were a lot of things that were met in there. The mother or the relative or the mother-in-law, whoever it was, got really upset, filed a police report, called the police, said, "Go ahead and arrest Millie and Gavin. They broke into my house, they stole stuff from me. Arrest them, take them away. I want them punished for what they did." And then they thought about it and they changed their mind. And they said, "Nope, we don't want Millie and Gavin arrested after all." And so they dropped all the charges. And then at some point, the prosecutor decided that Well, the the victim doesn't want to press the charges, but I still have the ability to press the charges. I just need to take it in front of a grand jury. So they take it in front of a grand jury, and the grand jury comes back with an indictment. But I mean, there's what people need to know about grand juries is they'll indict anything. There's an old saying, grand juries will indict a ham sandwich, because there's no adversarial conversation in a grand jury. The prosecutor presents their case, and that's it. The defense doesn't get to present a case. Just the prosecutor presents their case. So grand juries always come back with indictments. And then all this happened behind the scenes. The relative didn't know this was happening. Millie didn't know this was happening. Gavin didn't know this was happening. All happening in secret behind closed doors between the prosecutor. And so at that point, the prosecutor gets the indictment. The police go to the Millie's house and they arrest her and Gavin and one other person, possibly Millie's brother, who is also at the house, or somewhere in the scene. There's a third person that's arrested. So 3 people get arrested, and it's all based on this secret indictment. Now, there's a few things that don't make sense about this story. Number one, the timing of it all. I mean, she's about to release this explosive documentary, and then all of a sudden she gets arrested. That just stinks to high heavens. So the timing is an issue there. Secondly, there's just information that's coming out in the different stories that just don't add up. Like, for instance, they were arrested during the daytime, but she doesn't get booked until nearly 2 in the morning. So that just doesn't add up. There's things like that that don't add up. But lastly, what doesn't add up the most is that for such a petty charge, for it to go in front of a grand jury, and for the prosecutor to basically defy the victim's wishes to bring it in front of a grand jury, because that's what happened. The relative didn't want to press charges, but the prosecutor defied the victim's wishes and brought it to the prosecutor. That's huge. That's huge. That doesn't happen ever. I mean, it does happen, but usually it happens for some sort of reason. The prosecutor has an agenda, or there's a political reason, or something like that. And this is the most important part of this story, because it will try to be spun that there was a domestic violence incident, there was a burglary, there was obstruction of justice. They're going to try to spin all that into saying that's what this is about. The whole thing about it happening on the same period when she's going to release this documentary, that doesn't make sense. But you can't let them spin it, because the truth is this: the prosecutor retaliated, was getting political pressure from somewhere, and they were arrested. I don't need to know all the facts to know that's what happened, because prosecutors are lazy. Police are lazy. They're government workers. I mean, they do a really good job, and there are bad apples, but most of them do a really good job. And when they're doing something, they do a good job at it. Like, if you give them a crime to investigate, they'll uncover all the stones and rocks and everything else, but they do it in their sweet time. So even when they do a really good job, it's because they're government workers. They have this unlimited amount of time to do something. Like, for instance, in my profession as a private investigator, I do a lot of surveillance assignments. And when I do a surveillance assignment, it's me, a camera, and my minivan or my truck or whatever. And that's it. And I have to follow somebody around all day. When the government does a surveillance assignment, they have 5 or 6 cars, a few helicopters, an aerial plane, satellite photos. By the time a day of surveillance ends, when the government does it, they have usually got nothing, because they're not very good at what they do, and it's cost the taxpayer over $100,000. Oh, getting a call. I'm gonna have to ignore this call. He might be calling because I'm doing this live stream right now. So government is inefficient. That's number one. They're inefficient, and they don't go out of their way to charge people with crimes. So they definitely don't go out of their way to open up a grand jury and charge people with crimes. So therefore, this whole Millie Weaver thing is highly suspicious, because we know the victim is the mother, either the mother of Millie or the mother of Gavin, based on, and I'm basing that on comments that I've gotten on my YouTube videos that I posted about this, and emails that I've received in one phone call. So it's either the mother or the mother-in-law. We know that she initially did call the police, but then she changed her mind. And then everybody thought that the issue had gone away. But the prosecutor at some point opened a grand jury. And based on what I know about how the government works, the only way that would have happened is if the prosecutor was getting a whole lot of political pressure from somebody. We don't know who it is, but somebody within power put political pressure on that prosecutor to go after Millie in whatever way they could. Whatever way they could. They probably dug into her background. They looked in all her social media. They were trying to find a way to go after her. And in the end, they said, yeah, this is not the strongest, but we're going to do it. We're going to go after her. So they come back with this indictment. They go to her house and they arrest her. And even though the arrest is based on something that happened, the true reason for the arrest is retaliation. Now I'll go to my next point. The next point is, if the police did not want this documentary released, the worst thing in the world they could have done is go and arrest the person making the documentary. It's marketing gold. So, I mean, just think about it. This documentary that Millie just completed is now spread like wildfire all over the internet. Everybody's talking about it. So by the police going to Millie's house and arresting her to stop the documentary, it was pretty much the stupidest thing they could ever do. I said in some of my videos that I wouldn't put it past the police to be that stupid, so I don't want to discount that entirely, but I don't think that was the reason. I don't think they wanted to stop her. They knew it was coming out, and so they went ahead and they arrested her in retaliation. I think that's what's going on here. But we can't ignore the fact that there was an incident that happened that underlies what's going on here. And that incident, meaning the domestic violence incident, or that's what they're calling it. They're using these crazy words, calling it domestic violence, obstruction of justice. I just got a comment that says she has a CPS hearing on Monday. Yep, I knew about that. I was going to get to that. That's going to be at around 11 a.m. And I'm sure we'll start to get some real updates about what happened after the CPS hearing. And that will be important. But for now, we're just trying to kind of uncover basically what we know about it, have a conversation about what we know about it. But anyway, it's important to understand that something did happen. Something happened that the law enforcement, that the police, that the prosecutor, if this does continue to blow up and become a major problem for them, they're going to say, well, we were trying to protect the elderly mother. That's the narrative that I could see coming out of it. For those of you that weren't in the live stream, the story that's unfolding is that there was the mother, either Millie's mother or Gavin's mother, had taken pictures of some of Millie's research. Millie and Gavin went and told her that they wanted those pictures deleted, and there was an argument over that. Finally, Gavin or Millie or both, whatever, grabbed the phone of the mother, deleted the pictures, or smashed the phone up, one or the other. I don't know. It's kind of sparse there. And then gave the phone back to her and then left. And then the mother decided she didn't like it, so she pressed charges. But then she changed her mind about pressing the charges and dropped the case. But at some point, the prosecutor decided that they were going to reopen the case, form a grand jury, and get Millie and Gavin arrested. My theory on that is, of course, that the only way a prosecutor would take a bold initiative like that is if they were getting pressure from somebody, because prosecutors don't want to generate cases for themselves. And probably the narrative that they're going to use to justify taking that initiative to get the grand jury, which costs money. A grand jury costs money. It's not cheap what they've done to her. So this was planned, laid out, cost the taxpayer a lot of money. And it doesn't happen normally. Normally, police, if they find a reason to drop, if the victim says, I want to drop the charges, police are like, all right, phew, less for us to do, less paperwork for us to do. So it doesn't ring true that the police would go out of their way to form a grand jury if there wasn't any pressure. I'm getting another comment. They can, is that confirmed to be the reason or just a rumor still? A grand jury? Okay, let's see if I can get these comments to stay. Live messages. There we go. Yeah, the grand jury over the mom's phone. No, it's not confirmed. Don't take that as solid evidence. That's not confirmed. But I have it from a lot of sources that that's what happened. I think it's like 20 to 22 sources in counting that's sort of the narrative that. So I think it's going to be something similar to that when we know all the facts. I posted 3 videos about it so far. I've seen an email from supposed mom. Thank you for this information. Yeah, I've seen that email too. It's spreading. It's been forwarded to me many times. I've posted 3 videos about this on YouTube so far. Alex is being cryptic. And in those 3 videos, I'm getting tons of comments. I've gotten a phone call and I'm getting emails. People are forwarding me stuff about this. Yeah, Alex Jones, I'm not sure I can use his name on YouTube, so I'll call him AJ. AJ is being a little cryptic. He seems to have had this agenda or this schedule for this weekend. I don't normally follow AJ and his site. I'm not a huge conspiracy theory person, but I checked into it on his special, I guess, band site that he has, and he posted some videos there. It seems like he's sort of, he has addressed this. I did watch one video where he specifically addresses this. If anybody in the comments wants to comment on specifically how AJ is reacting to this, that would be interesting to get your thoughts about what's going on. But I do agree that he is sort of not. I wouldn't expect him to be the way he's acting. I think I would have expected him to be more hands-on, do special broadcasts, do a live broadcast today. I'm actually surprised that he hasn't done a live broadcast today talking about this very subject. I don't know what your thoughts on that are, but let me get to some comments here about this. I'm just going to start going through some comments that I've gotten on some videos. Everybody needs to make time to go to the Ohio, to the courthouse for Millie and Gavin and their family, to support the family. This may add strength to her family by doing so. If you live close to Ohio, I would say, yeah, show up at the Portage County Courthouse and be supportive, because even with the narrative that's unfolding, it's pretty clear to me that this is government retaliation, and we don't know all the facts yet. I can't stress that enough, but it's pretty clear to me this is government retaliation. It's not fraudulent to have more donations than you set out to on the GoFundMe. I made the comment in one of my videos that the GoFundMe started with a goal of 20,000, and now it's up to, when I last looked at it, it was up to like 80 or 90,000. So they're well past their $20,000 goal for the GoFundMe. Somebody also mentioned that a GoFundMe is not supposed to be used to do a legal defense fund. I'm not sure about that, but that was interesting. People are speculating that AJ may be part of a controlled opposition. I don't really think this is true. However, I think he doesn't want to be more involved. No clue at this point. AJ is loaded. Not sure why she needs the GoFundMe. Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. Lanny from Canada. I think that he has taken a major hit recently ever since he was banned from all the social media platforms. I think he funded Roger Stone's defense pretty heavily. He's been involved in lawsuits over the whole Sandy Hook thing. I think his financial resources are pretty drained, and also I'm not sure he needs another legal fight. And I think he might be seeing that this could turn into quite a legal fight, trying to take her kids from her too. I know that's the worst part about this story is Child Protective Service is now going to get involved, and I just can't believe that would happen. That just upsets me so. And there's things about this case that really piss me off. Like, they arrested her Friday evening, so they knew that no judges were going to be available until Monday, and there's even a rumor that they might not even see her on Monday. There was a YouTuber that made a video where they called the courthouse, and the person that answered seemed to know a little bit, or it seemed to have been prepped a little about what to tell people. And she said that there was a chance that Millie would not even be seen by a judge on Monday, but there is tentatively something scheduled for 11 a.m. on Monday. AJ has been controlled opposition for decades. She worked for him, but Rebel Media backs her. Affidavit of probable cause. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, the probable cause, doesn't happen here because of the grand jury. So the police, they had a warrant. There was no probable cause needed. So expand on that. AJ has been controlled opposition for decades. Like, he's opposition to what, the establishment? Can fill me in a little bit more on that. Grand jury got it, thanks. I think that the government's been doing crazy tricks, like arresting her on Friday so that she has to stay in jail all weekend. That's a crazy trick the government does. I think the government is probably filing this and did the whole grand jury out of retaliation because of pressure they got from somebody. I think that's possible. I think that the retaliation is not that the video would not be released, but they would mess with her life. They would take away some of her money that she would have to fund a legal defense. Because, I mean, at this point, they got to hire lawyers, and I've never hired a lawyer for less than $10,000. That's what it costs to hire a lawyer, $10,000 initially, and then it could go much higher than that, depending on how complicated the case is. So they're trying to drain her resources. But then the child custody thing, it blows my mind. We got this child custody thing now because CPS, or Child Protective Service, is going to get involved because she was arrested, and now her kids are being taken care of by, according to an email I got, her sister is taking care of her kids. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I got in an email. And I think I read it in a comment too, that her sister was taking care of the kids. All right, now there's this alternative narrative that's been forming here. I was told, this is a comment from What Was War. I was told Millie's mother is from California and came to visit Millie in Ohio and came across some conspiracy stuff at Millie's home. She took pictures, gave to police in California, and was told, it was told to me by Alex Jones himself, and it can be viewed on YouTube. So the uploaded data gets sensitized and downloaded again. Yeah, that's a version of what I've been told. That's not the whole thing. This guy is commenting on my theory of my question. I question why she's arrested in the afternoon, but she's not booked into prison until 2 a.m. Because in the video, she's being arrested maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know. The sun's up. It's clearly high in the sky. So I'm just guessing maybe 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon she's arrested. And then she doesn't get booked into prison until 2 a.m. I mean, sure, you can, the transportation to the jail, maybe it's several hours away, so that could count. It's an hour at 6 or 7. And then they interrogate her, interview her. Let's throw another 2 hours in. That brings us to 9. Maybe she talks to a lawyer. Let's throw another 2 hours at a lawyer. That takes us to 11. And then it takes them 3 more hours before they book her. 2 a.m. Yeah, that timeline doesn't add up to me. But this guy, Gene Burke, wrote, booked into jail can come hours after arrest. Oh, and then he says, Millie's sister is looking after the children in the video Millie took of her own arrest. There was a female that was blonde that was sort of taking care of the children, but I'm not sure it was her sister, but according to this comment, it was the sister. Okay, Heavy is giving out inaccurate information. Heavy, of course, is a website that does news, a news website, and they wrote a story, the reporters wrote a story about this, and this commenter said, Heavy is giving out inaccurate information. It was not hours before her documentary. Tori says, put it out early because of arrest. It was due to come out on Wednesday coming up. So the documentary that's now being spread, the Shadowgate documentary that's now being spread everywhere, is being spread everywhere because of this arrest. But the narrative, of course, was that she was being arrested on the same day the documentary was coming out. Therefore, the police were trying to prevent her from the documentary coming out. But this commenter makes the point, and it's a good point because it's true. It wasn't supposed to come out until Wednesday. That she wasn't arrested because of the documentary. She was arrested for the other reasons. But I don't think that matters. That doesn't really affect the narrative that maybe the police were retaliating against her. I don't think that the whole theory that they were arresting her to stop the documentary to coming out, I just reject that completely. That's stupid. I don't buy it at all. I mean, I wouldn't put it past the police to do something like that, but I just don't buy that because if the police wanted to stop the documentary from coming out, they would have done something way sooner than when she's putting the final touches on the documentary, and it's about to come out in 2 or 3 days. And of course, with a conspiracy theorist reporter like Millie Weaver, if I was the police, I would just assume that they have kind of a backup plan to get it out just in case something happens. And then last, like arresting somebody on the eve of a documentary coming out would be the stupidest thing you could do, because it's obviously going to come out, but now you've just given credence to the documentary and made everybody out there want to watch it. So I just reject the argument. Yeah, I agree. This is a very intriguing situation. So I just reject the argument that the police arrested her to stop this documentary from coming out. That's wrong. I don't buy it. I may be wrong on that, but I don't buy it. I think that I do buy into the argument that it's retaliation and they want to hurt her. What is Russell Spade says, cops can keep people in a holding cell for many hours just for punishment. It sucks because there's not enough seating. The read room is open for everyone to see. You go to the potty, it smells like poop. Thanks for that information. Appreciate it. I do know that, yeah, there could be a time where you're sitting in a holding cell, but 2 a.m., it just seems so far from the point of when she was arrested. So actually, that's a good theory because it goes along with my whole idea that if they were arresting her to retaliate against her, the restroom, not read room. Oh, gotcha. I got that from the context of what you were saying. I got that it was a restroom. But if you were going to retaliate against her, and I think that this whole thing is about retaliation. I don't think it's about stopping the documentary. I think they just got so pissed. They were like, okay, you can expose us, but we're going to make your life a living hell. I think that's what's going on here. I don't think it was to stop the documentary. And the whole idea of putting her in a holding cell with her head next to a toilet for, let's see, 7 or 8 hours goes into that narrative. It goes in nice. Mark Dice, Twitter, Part 1. Millie Weaver's arrest had to do with previous domestic dispute with her mother that occurred several months ago. Yeah, that's the narrative that I've been getting. I think Part 2. Her mom purportedly did not want her prosecuted and is upset she was arrested for what she considered to be a minor incident that was already resolved. Yes, yes. That is 100% consistent with the information that I've got from emails and phone call. And I'll go through the story again, but basically Millie and Gavin had the mother come, whether it's Gavin's mother or Millie's mother, visit. The mother took pictures of some of Millie's research, and then Millie found out about it at a later point. Gavin and Millie went and confronted the mother and said, hey, listen, we have to get those pictures you took deleted because that's not good. You can't have those pictures. They're compromising, they're classified, or whatever the reason. I don't know what the reason is, but she didn't want the mother to have the pictures of her research. She said, delete it. The mother said, no, I don't want to delete it. Gavin or Millie or both grabbed the phone, deleted the pictures, or smashed the phone, one or the other, gave the phone back to the mother, either all smashed up or just with the pictures deleted, and then left. The mother was really upset. She called the police, reported them, and then changed her mind at a later point, dropped all the charges, and everybody thought it was done. But then at some point the prosecutor decided to go ahead with a prosecution, even though that makes no sense to me because prosecutors love it when they have less caseload. They don't want to create a caseload for themselves. So I think that that's suspect that the prosecutor would go out of her way to form a grand jury, cost the taxpayers tons of money, get Millie arrested and Gavin arrested, and then to me that it rings true of a government retaliating against a citizen for exposing them. Gene Burke says, Tori on the doc released the documentary early because of the arrest. She says, I viewed the whole video this morning. This is really hardcore whistleblowing. Can't sit on this stuff. And then Viking Knight said, I hope that's the case. Another hearsay report said it was over documents she had, I assume related to her shadow.gov or shadow government documentary video. Yeah, I'm guessing that's what it was for. Millie is a conspiracy theorist or kind of a Republican reporter, and I think she was named in 2017 or 2018 as one of the 30 most influential Republicans under 30. So she's a well-known Republican, huge Trump supporter, and she has made several documentaries. She does informational videos. She does news stories. She does all sorts of things like this. And I'm sure when she is home, she may have documents laid out on her coffee table or her desk or wherever. And if people are visiting her, they can easily see that. I think if she had classified information that was given to her. Now, this is a touchy subject. This is a little bit touchy. And this theory has come up that they came and got her because she stole classified documents from the government. I think that's pretty much been dismissed based on all the information that I've been getting. But say that's true. Say that somebody gave her classified information and she has classified information in her house. She's a reporter. I don't know if we remember back in Nixon's day when there was classified information that was leaked to a reporter. I think the reporter got the information, was it Bernstein and Woodward, got the information from a mysterious person named, what was his name? Deep Throat or something. It's some sexual name, something like that. And write it in the comments if you know. Anyway, and then the government tried to claim that Bernstein and Woodward had classified information. The case, they were charged with something. The case went, Deep Throat, yeah. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that when a reporter is given classified information, while it is true that the classified information is illegally outside of the government's control, the reporter hasn't done anything wrong. The guilty party is the person who gave the reporter the classified information, not the reporter who received the classified information. So under the theory that Millie Weaver was arrested, and Gavin was arrested because they had classified information, that doesn't ring true to me. It could be, you know. We have well-established laws in our country, such as freedom of speech, but that doesn't stop the government from arresting people and retaliating against people for exercising freedom of speech, even in very clear examples like a preacher preaching on the sidewalk. That just happened in Maine a few years ago. My home state of Maine, there was a preacher down in Portland, Maine, preaching on the sidewalk. Cops show up, tell him, you can't preach on the sidewalk. He's like, well, I have freedom of speech. And they were like, well, then we're going to arrest you. And that's what happened. They arrested him. And that's well established. A preacher can preach on the street. He wasn't even using an amplification device. So even though it doesn't ring true that they were arrested for having classified documents, oh, thank you, Maine. I'm not in Maine right now. I actually live in Boston, but I'm from Maine. So it doesn't ring true to me that they were arrested for having classified documents, just because it's not illegal for a reporter to have classified documents. Now, the Supreme Court never ruled on a private citizen being given classified documents, so maybe if they want to make the case that she's not a reporter, that she's just sort of this social media presence or personality, then maybe. So you can't rule it out completely, because prosecutors are just, they come up with all sorts of ways to go after you. But it doesn't ring true to me that she was arrested for having classified documents. The story that's coming out about the mother taking pictures of their research and then them wanting to have the pictures deleted, and then the mother complaining about them coming in and basically stealing her phone and deleting the pictures off her phone. So the mother, charged, and then later changed her mind and decided she didn't want to charge him, drops all charges, and then the prosecutor takes it up from there. That rings more true to me. That narrative rings way more true to me than she had classified information and was arrested for stealing it or for having it or for anything like that. Let's continue on here. I get lots of insults on my YouTube videos too. One thing that you have to learn when you put on YouTube is that you have to develop thick skin right away, because the trolls come out fast. I posted a video a few years ago that still gets, I don't know, a bunch of views. Every day I get 300 or 400 views on that video, and I don't know, a dozen comments or so. And yeah, those people are mean, so I just stopped reading them. Every once in a while I'll go in and read them, and when I'm in a mood where I want to entertain myself. Anyone can be a whistleblower. There are laws pertaining to that. We all learned that last fall. That's true. Anybody can be a whistleblower. But we also learned last fall that you have to do it in the way the government wants you to do it in. Holy crap. Does that even make sense to you? You have to, in order to actually blow the whistle on somebody, you have to follow a law that the government passed in order to blow the whistle. It just blows my mind. And the example of that is Edward Snowden. Um, say what you will about him, whether he's a traitor, whether he's good, whether he's bad. Let's not have that debate right now. But we can have the debate that there's no difference between Edward Snowden and Mystery Man. You know, we still don't even officially know the name of the whistleblower that blew the whistle on Trump that led to his impeachment. We still don't even know that whistleblower's name. Maybe that's, I don't know. I guess because he followed the law, he gets to stay anonymous, which is fine. Stay anonymous. Who cares? But there's no difference between him and Edward Snowden. They're paid by YouTube. Anyone? Michael de Silvio, please explain. They're paid by YouTube. Are you saying Millie's paid by YouTube? That's probably true. She has a big YouTube account and she's monetized, so that's probably very true. Let's see. Where is her hubby in the video she uploaded, though? Yeah, that's a good point. I actually made that point that she, in the video, or they say that she and her husband were arrested, but there's no video of her husband. The only person I saw getting arrested was her. So that didn't line up with the story that's been coming out of this. At the beginning of the video that Millie posted, the officer is radioing in and says, we're going to need another unit to transport two people. And so maybe he was already in his unit and there was not a unit for Millie to get into. Although I don't understand, isn't there two seats in the back of a car? Government is sometimes they like to spend lots of money. There's a car right there. You could have just searched them, patted them down, and put them both in the same car. Dhaka, Ukraine, Odaka is the whistleblower. Yeah, I hear all sorts of theories about the whistleblower and why we don't have a name for the Trump whistleblower. I think the most prevalent theory is that there is no whistleblower. It was a wiretap, and the FBI just sort of said there was a whistleblower, but really the information they got was from a wiretap that they had on the president. I don't know. I don't want to get into those. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not the biggest fan of people that buy into every single conspiracy theory out there. I do like to keep my foot or my foot wet or into the conspiracy theory realm every once in a while. So I will go to AJ's site. AJ is his initials. I think we all know who AJ is. Why isn't she on bail? That's a good question. She's not on bail because, again, this goes into my theory about that she was retaliated against. The reason why she's not on bail is because the cops show up in the afternoon on Friday, therefore guaranteeing that she's not going to be getting a bail hearing until the following Monday. Why couldn't they just wait until Monday morning to arrest her? Why do they have to wait? Why do they have to come on Friday evening or arrest her Thursday evening? Why does it have to be Friday evening? The only reason it's Friday evening is because it fits into my narrative that this is about retaliation. It's not about stopping the video from being released. It's about retaliation. Mark my words, that's what this is about. They're going to retaliate against her. They're going to force her to spend tons of money in lawyers and a legal defense. They're going to harass her over her kids now. She's going to have to deal with CPS, Child Protective Service. Trolls threatening their life on YouTube for having the audacity to say YouTube admittedly trolls people who they disagree with. That's horrible, Michael. Yeah, we have to be careful on YouTube. I don't get it. I don't like it. Free speech is being threatened all over the place. It saddens me, pisses me off. I cannot believe it happens. I added a case up in Maine. You can go and watch videos on my channel about it. It's an ongoing thing. I applied for a PI license in Maine. I'm a private investigator in Boston. I have a license in New Hampshire and Vermont. I previously been licensed in New York and New Jersey. I currently hold a license out in Tennessee, which covers me in a bunch of southern states. I've been a PI for 18 years. I'm really good at my job. I actually, when I worked for a big, huge company with over 400 investigators, I was one of the top 5 investigators every single month that I worked at that company. So I started my own company back in 2003. But Maine, the state of Maine, oh my goodness, is a very corrupt and horrible state. And early on in 2003, I was told by a private investigator who was kind of teaching me the ropes because I was new, that don't ever try to get licensed in Maine because they only give PI licenses to former state troopers, law enforcement, and very well-connected people. I made the mistake thinking that I had tons of experience. I'd been licensed in all these areas. I was really good at what I did. I had accliments, awards that I'd gotten. Figured, no, they're not going to deny me. I'm too good. They denied me. I applied. And what did they deny me for? They dug down into my social media, to my Facebook account. They found a social media post that I made in like 2016 or something, and it had 181 comments underneath it. And they read through every single one of the comments, and they found one that was buried deep down that was a little problem son. I accused a police officer that was involved in a police-involved shooting where 2 people died. I theorized that he might have been drunk. I asked questions. Maybe he was drunk. Was he ever tested for drugs and alcohol? And then I wrote in one comment that he was most likely drunk. And because I wrote most likely drunk, they denied my PI license in Maine. It's under appeal. I'm going to win. Obviously, it's stupid. But the point I'm making is that free speech is gone. We don't have free speech anymore. And when you say that you can't say certain things on YouTube, like President Obama's middle name and the full name of our friend AJ, yeah, you can't say those things on YouTube. You can't cuss on YouTube. You can't swear on YouTube. YouTube is not a free speech platform. That is for sure. I love YouTube to death. I think it's a great platform. You can type in anything you want and learn. If you want to change a belt on a 1968 Mustang, type into YouTube and they'll show you how to do it. If you want, anything you want, you can bury Satoru is innocent. Yeah, obviously. Well, intimidation, I don't. Yeah, I guess it could be intimidation, but I think it's more retaliation. I think intimidation, retaliation. I think it's. I guess you could call that the brother of of intimidation. I think it's retaliation. I think that everything that we're learning fits right into that narrative, because the domestic violence, the obstruction of justice, all that, and the burglary, all that is surrounding an incident that happened with the mother. And the mother initially wanted them charged, but then she changed her mind and she dropped all the charges. So when the mother dropped all the charges, the police and the prosecutor, usually, and 99.99999% of the time, the same amount of people that are affected by COVID they 100% go along with the victim. 100%, 99.9999, they go along with the victim. So for the prosecutor to not go along with the victim and on her own form a grand jury, but you don't even need a grand jury if you have a victim. Victims are free. Grand juries cost a huge amount of money. So on her own, assembles a grand jury, spends money on a prosecutor, pays the grand jury members money to do the grand jury thing, comes back with a secret indictment, goes and arrests her husband, or her, Gavin, her brother, whoever it was. 3 people got arrested as a result of this. For the prosecutor to do all that makes no sense to me, unless the only way it makes sense is when you put it into the context of retaliation. Then it makes perfect sense. Where did she put herself out there? So I'm not surprised they went after her. It's a shame. Yeah, that's unfortunately that's one of the problems with putting yourself out there and posting videos. And I'm making way too much money from Google. Okay, good. If you want to fill me in on what you're saying there, I don't quite get that. A call from Millie from jail was just posted on YouTube. Okay, what does that call say? Actually, post a link in the comments. I want to see that. A call from Millie from jail was just posted to YouTube. Actually, let me go to YouTube over here, see if I can pull it up. Millie Weaver in prison. So they're saying that Millie Weaver from prison. Let's see if, or from jail. $50 phone theft. I hate to say it, but this could break her. Normal people can't handle this kind of pressure. She has to think of her kids first. Retaliation, then intimidation, so she isn't so bold in the future. I heard the kids' custody is perhaps going to be an issue. If that's true, Millie might consider, is it worth going after the deep state? Antifa arrested and bailed out within hours. Just listened to it like 5 minutes ago. Yeah. Why does Alex Jones not have a team of lawyers? Yeah, see, all these are great questions. Post a link to that phone call. I want to see it. I definitely want to see that phone call. I'll play it. Maybe we can all hear it. Millie Weaver jail phone call. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it pop up when I'm doing a search for Millie Weaver on YouTube. Yeah, I think the reason that Alex Jones, I think he does have a little bit of money, but I think he's struggling. Ever since he was banned, I think it really hurt his operation. And if you ever go and check out AJ's operation, I'm sure it had a lot of overhead, way more overhead than he was. He should have had going into a situation where he was being banned from all these social media platforms. His viewership was going way down. His revenue was going way down. I'm sure he was making tons of money off YouTube ads and merchandise that he was selling, and all that just disappeared overnight. So I think Mr. AJ was very seriously injured by being banned from all the social media platforms, and it's a miracle he's even still in operation, because that alone would have destroyed most people. And I think that's why he probably is not he's not excited about having another legal battle. I mean, he's in a war and he gets constant grenades thrown at him, and he's fighting off legal issues, lawsuits over the whole Sandy Hook thing, lawsuits over other things. He had to help out Roger Stone, who recently went through a legal fight. He's constantly dealing with keeping his operation running, keeping his people employed, and then having this as another legal thing that he has to worry about. Probably is, I think he's helping. It's not something he wants. And also, I think he's helping another female reporter, Caitlin Bennett, who's on YouTube. She has a channel. I'm sure everybody knows who she is, with security guards and bodyguards, because she gets into trouble while she's out there. And I think there was a recent incident that made national news where she went to a college, and the whole college basically decided to beat her up or something. They were attacking her. It was I saw one video where she was in a pickup truck and people were throwing soda bottles and banging on the side of the truck. And so AJ's helping her with her bodyguards, I'm pretty sure. So he's got fingers all over the place, and I'm not sure he has as much money as people think. But yeah, the commenter that said this would break a normal person, I can completely understand that. This could definitely something like this where you're facing a criminal charge, you're facing huge legal expenses. Now your children are possibly going into child protective services. Um, Somebody wrote child procurement services. Uh, it does disturb me a little. In my home state of Maine, if anybody's from Maine here, I'll give you a little show. This is my Maine drink, if anybody knows what it is. Yeah, there's a story up in Maine about child protective services where there was a struggling mother who didn't know how to pick a very good boyfriend. And her boyfriend would beat her up, and then she'd dump him and get rid of him. Child support, the Department of Human Services came in, and they decided that her daughter was not safe. So they took the daughter out of the house, and told the mother what she needed to do to get the daughter back. This story has a point. And so she dumped the boyfriend, got her life together, got a better job, got a better apartment, cleaned everything up, got her child back in time for Christmas. Her child is back in the house. Everybody's happy. She's happy. A few months go by. She gets another boyfriend. Didn't pick a good guy again. The boyfriend does something to her. There's a domestic situation. So the Child Protective Services comes in, takes the kids. But this time, one of the DHS workers forms a relationship with the kid and wants to adopt the kid. So when the mother does everything to clean her life up again, to get her kid back, the social worker decides she's going to make stuff up, and she forces the kid away from the mother based on false pretenses. And within a few years, the kid is dead because that DHS worker was a horrible person. So there are DHS nightmare stories, and every mother out there, Millie Weaver included, this is what's running through her head right now. And so you're right. This could break Millie. She may give it up. I don't know Millie that well, but based on what I've seen, she seems like a really strong, powerful person that probably will be able to handle this. But it is a concern. This is psychological interrogation, psychological stress. This is horrible what they're doing to her. And that's why it all goes into my theory that this isn't about stopping a video. This isn't even about the phone or the mother or the domestic violence or the burglary. It's not about any of that. This is about the government, and I do think this is what this case is about. The government retaliating against somebody for exposing their dirty little secrets. Because that prosecutor had no incentive to file these charges and go in front of that grand jury. 99.9% of prosecutors faced with this set of circumstances would never, ever take that case to a grand jury. But this prosecutor, for some reason, did. And I think it's because she was pressured to do so. And it's all about retaliation. I still don't see that phone call coming up. There was a commenter that said that there was a phone call. Millie Weaver jail call, presser. Oh, that was 7 hours ago? No, I watched that video and that was not a phone call. Yeah, I don't see any breaking phone call happening here. Maybe I'm just missing it. Okay, someone called the Ohio jail desk to confirm if Millie would be arraigned on Monday, August. Yes, she will. Will there be a presser? Call the jail. Video uploaded to YouTube 7 hours ago. Yeah, I watched that video. That wasn't between Millie. That was between a YouTuber and the jail. And the person on the other end of the phone call said that while most likely it will happen on Monday at around 11, it's not for sure. That's just when they do all the arraignments at around 11. So it could be the arraignments start at 11, but depending on how many people need to get arraigned, it could take all day. I mean, it could be 5 p.m. before they hear Millie's case. And if they can't hear Millie's case on Monday, then it will be the next day that they do arraignments, which hopefully is Tuesday. I'm guessing it's probably Tuesday. I wasn't a fan of hers, but I feel bad for her. I'm sure she had no idea the dangers. She was like 30 something. She sounds like 30 something. Yeah, she's 29 years old. And yeah, I think a lot of people are being introduced to Millie as a result of this. I had watched her videos in the past. I wasn't the hugest fan of her. I even watched the Shadowgate video, and it was very sensational in the beginning. I did sort of lose steam toward the end of it, but I'm sure some of the stuff in that video is true. I'm going to watch it a few more times to dissect everything in it, because if they're retaliating against her over it, I want to know what's in it. It was the most outrageous video I've ever seen. Ohio University Children of the Corn. Oh yeah, that's about the Caitlin Bennett thing. Yeah, I watched that video. It was just crazy. It was like, what are we teaching our college kids these days? I have a daughter who's 15, and wow, I hope she never goes to college and becomes a zombie person that attacks somebody with a different point of view. I'm very independent, and so I disagree with Caitlin and AJ and on a bunch of things, but I agree with them on a bunch of things too. And I think having a debate over information is an important part of our democracy. And when you shut down people because they have a different opinion than you, that's not right. It's wrong. If Caitlin Bennett wouldn't have had guns and bodyguards, they would have killed her and ate her. You may be right. They would have killed her and ate her body. I think he knows it isn't a fight he can win. Don't follow him. Don't like his personality, but I don't think he should be censored, obviously. Who are you talking about? You must be talking about AJ, or yeah, clarify, Melina. Tell me who you were talking about there. I am with you on the prosecutor taking advantage. Yeah, I think that's the only theory that makes sense, Gene. The detectives are trying to get her to admit to something this weekend. I hope she has remained silent and asserted her Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Yeah, that's a very important point. You should never talk. You should never say anything. Oh, sorry, that was my finger. In fact, even the video she posted where she was answering questions and trying to figure things out, I guess I can understand that, but I hope she shut up pretty quickly after that, or she exercised her Fifth Amendment right. Millie exposed Hillary Clinton's coughing and hacking. Yeah, that was in the 2016 election. I do vaguely recall there was an issue about Hillary Clinton not being very healthy, and she coughed a lot. And I think there was a video of her collapsing somewhere too. InfoWars still has an audience that is larger than most news networks. That's probably true. Although that doesn't take much nowadays. There's a lot of YouTubers that have audiences larger than most news networks. In fact, I'd say the majority of YouTubers now have a bigger audience than MSNBC and CNN and soon to be Fox News. I think all those mainstream people are... I think we need to start getting our news from YouTube and from social media sites that are not trying to suppress speech. Even YouTube is getting the news out there better than Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, because YouTube, you can go to YouTube and you can follow people that are independent. You can follow people that are libertarian. You can follow people that are, in the Green Party, or that are, Black Lives Matter or Antifa. These are all groups that mainstream media never lets you listen to. But it's actually a shame that AJ's was taken off YouTube, because even though I didn't agree with everything he said, I did agree that he had a right to say it. Could Millie be jailed under the NDAA? Let's hope not. USA school systems are Antifa training centers. Yeah, that's true. I mean, just look at what happened to Caitlin Bennett at that college, and yeah, that's 100% true. I cannot disagree with you there. Those were zombie people. If Biden-Harris wins, they will be coming for all conservative reporters. Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you there. I was actually seeing, I was reading an article earlier today about freedom of speech, and they had this graph, and the graph showed the entire world, and they did it color-coded from light red to really, really dark red. And the lightest red was where freedom of speech was the strongest, and the really, really dark red was where there was no freedom of speech. And the United States was really, really light. The United States and Canada actually were the only areas that were really, really light red, which meant that we still had, out of the whole world, the United States and Canada have the most freedom of speech. And Russia, North Korea, some of those areas were the reddest, the darkest red, where they basically have no freedom of speech. And if you ever say anything that the government doesn't agree with, they just they come to your house, they arrest you. I mean, and I think North Korea arrests you, your wife, your kids, your uncles, your aunts. They put you all in a work camp. So we have it pretty good here in the United States. They want to shut down OAN, and that's an all-conservative thought. If you like Ricky Jarvis, you'll love AJ. I do like Ricky Jarvis, and I don't mind listening to AJ, but I don't agree with everything he says. I don't believe Biden's the final candidate and only a placeholder. I expect him to have another aneurysm next week. Yeah, it's true. Biden actually, that's a fact. He's had 2 aneurysms in his life. That's true news. So let's see here. Let's refresh this. Shame on Portage County, Ohio. Her arrest is suspicious. Wake up, patriots. You could be next. This is all trauma-based to shut her up right before the publishing of the documentary. It's happened before with others. I would get in touch with Liz Crokin on Twitter. Actually, no, her Twitter account was taken down. And yeah, that's a good point. That when you've gone through something traumatic like what Millie's about to go through, it does. I don't know, it takes your motivation away. It takes your ambition away. You start having thoughts like, is this all worth it? Is it really worth it for me to, post something, a video, a documentary, whatever, and then have to go through living hell as a result? Is it worth it? When I could easily, I mean, Millie is a model, an actress. She has businesses. She didn't need to do this. And now she's going through all of this because she makes videos that exposes government corruption. And there's no question that that's ultimately what this is about. It doesn't matter that they came up with this domestic assault charge or whatever, trying to justify their retaliation, but in the end this was retaliation. And do you really need this? So I'm sure she's having thoughts like, is it worth it? When she comes out of this, is she going to continue making videos? I would guess that she is, but I think that anybody would be having thoughts about is it worth it what I'm doing? And thinking that, questioning whether they want to continue doing this sort of thing. Everything AJ says is sourced, so you can see where he gets his info. Hasn't General Flynn gone through the deep state hell for years? Yeah, that's it. I think I just want to address this point that everything Alex Jones says is sourced. Um, there's an old saying about lies or statistics that uh, you can make statistics say anything you want them to say. So there's really no difference between statistics and a lie. Yeah, so AJ breaks some pretty good stuff. And some of what he breaks, I believe, and I think is true. Some of what he says, I think, is very interesting. I think it's good to have alternate points of view and to have deep thinkers like he is in the public debate. That's why I'm pissed off that he's no longer in the public debate. But the commenter said everything that he says is sourced. That's not true. That's not true, because you can have circle sources and you can have bad sources. So you can base a story on a source, but the source itself is bad. Or you can have circle sources. Like, for instance, some guy in his pajamas in his basement basically says something like, I don't know, some conspiracy theory. And then AJ puts out a story about that conspiracy theory saying it's true because of that guy's story, even though that guy made it up. That's a bad source story. And then the circle source is that you yourself put out a story into the ethos under a assumed name or a made up name, and then you write a news story under your name and you source that source. Or the government reporters often will get a leaked document from a government official, and then the government lawyer that leaked the document will then charge somebody with a crime based on that leaked document. So that's circle sourcing. And unfortunately, I see AJ doing both, bad sourcing and circle sourcing, all the time. And again, I'm not against him. This isn't a bash AJ night or anything like that. I just think that we have to be careful when we see circle sourcing and bad sourcing, and that's in a lot of some of the things that he brings out. I wanted to go back to this comment that I saw come in. Where did it go? Richie from Boston says, "This is a psycho. Why hasn't her video been censored and pulled?" I'm not sure why you said that, Russell. Suspended license. I'm not sure why you said that, Mr. McFallon. LOL. What does suspended license mean? We'll go up to this top. If you have never been arrested before, jail is a nightmare. I spent 3 hours in the can for a suspended license. Yeah, that's a good point. Jail is a nightmare. I would never want to. I've never spent time in jail, but I have been around prisons. I've interviewed people in prisons, in jails, I mean, and Moxie. Moxie makes Mainers mighty. If you've never had Moxie, this isn't a promo for Moxie, but you should definitely try it one day. It's like a cola, but much better cola. And it's only available in New England. I think Coca-Cola bought Moxie and is starting to put it out in all the different stores. So it might be in your area. Next time you're in your grocery store, it won't be in a convenience store, but next time you're in your grocery store, look for Moxie. Wherever you are, look for Moxie. Moxie makes Mainers mighty. It's a drink from Maine. Anyway, let's see. I like David Knight, but AJ's voice is so annoying. Yeah, he does get a little annoying. It goes on these rants, and you think he's having a seizure or something. I bet Millie's being surveyed, and her house is probably being bugged. That's probably true. That's probably true. Although, when you look around this documentary, this Shadowgate documentary, it's basically she interviews two whistleblowers, and there is some weird things about the whistleblowers. I don't know about, like, there's this dude, the whistleblower, and then there's this girl Tori, and I think the guy whistleblower is on a Harley Davidson going to Ohio right now. I think that was him. I'm not sure. He has a YouTube channel. He's been posting videos, and then of course Tori mentioned in a video that I watched that she's going to be taking care of Millie's kids or something. So usually when I think of whistleblowers, I think of like what Project Veritas does, and it seems like there's more of a professional relationship, whereas the whistleblowers in this documentary seem to have a kind of a more intimate, for lack of a better term, relationship with Millie. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. My news feed. I can tell y'all Millie is on the actual trail of truth. Yes, Max. If it is their narrative, then it's news. And community guidelines, what community? Just what is a whistleblower supposed to look like? Plus, her sister was with her kids. Yeah, it's pretty sad what's going on. I wanted to actually bring out another theory that I had about this case. Let's refresh this. So, yeah, I had this theory early on, and I think I'm going to mention it here, even though I no longer believe this anymore. But just for the sake of argument, I'm sure maybe some people out there have this theory, that if this was something like a domestic violence incident where her and her husband or her and her boyfriend actually got into it, and it was 100% domestic violence. I'm not saying that it was. I don't know that. I think the story that I told earlier is that's what I keep hearing. I don't hear this anymore. I heard it early on, but I don't hear it anymore. So I think I can just dismiss this. But if, let's say that she was in a fight with her boyfriend or her husband, and all of a sudden the cops show up and arrest her, and she plays dumb. But she really knows why she's being arrested. She's just playing dumb because she's like, whatever. Based on the video I saw, she would have to be a pretty good actor to play dumb like that. Then, this is the theory. And then they set up this GoFundMe, and she raises $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Maybe they're thinking of buying a new house, and they just want a down payment, and this is all just fake. First of all, I want to again say I don't believe this anymore. I threw this theory out there earlier just because I didn't have all the evidence. I don't believe this anymore. But let's say that it's all fake. If you fake a narrative to fund, to get your GoFundMe funded, that is theft. That is stealing, and that is a crime. It's up to 110,000, 109,000 now. Well, 109,000. So if she knew why she was being arrested, and this turns out in the end just to be some sort of domestic assault thing between her and her boyfriend, and then all of a sudden everybody that's across the country that's made this GoFundMe go up to $110,000, and then it's given to her, that's theft. That's a crime. It's fraud. And if that is what turns out to be what happened, I will lose all respect for Millie Weaver. But I don't think, based on everything that's coming out, that that's what happened. I noticed that George Floyd was missing his legs and tattooed. George Floyd looks like a mannequin. What? We'll have to wait till tomorrow to hear the rest of the story. Yeah, I agree that I'm not even sure we'll know what happens tomorrow. But if Millie's bonded out, then maybe she can tell her side of the story. And that would be good. There's a massive campaign to discredit Millie. We must stick together. Well, I like your comment, but I take issue with that comment. We must stick together. I only want the truth to come out, and I think everybody on here and everybody that watches this should also only want the truth to come out. If the truth is that Millie did something horrible and she beat up her boyfriend or something, we want that to come out. If the truth is that the mother filed charges and then withdrew the charges, and then we had a overzealous prosecutor, we want that to come out. But based on everything I'm seeing, just sort of reading the tea leaves, I think this is all about government retaliation. I think the mother dropped the charges. A prosecutor didn't want anything to do. They were probably relieved. Oh, good. Now I have one less case to worry about. And then somebody in power that Millie upset put pressure on the prosecutor to retaliate against them. This is, if you read the tea leaves, this is 100% government retaliation. It disgusts me. And it happens all the time. Totally agree. Thank you. Yeah. The government constantly retaliates against people. They retaliate against you for social media posts. They retaliate against you for, just having peaceful protests. Or now, the word peaceful protest has now got a new definition. The peaceful protests I'm talking about are the protests where everybody follows the law and nobody riots, nobody vandalizes anything, and nobody beats anybody up or loots stores. So my definition of peaceful protests are holding up signs, marching, and using your voice to protest. The new definition of peaceful protests is much different. So now when I say peaceful protest, I have to clarify. I believe that it's okay to peacefully protest under the old definition. But even under the old definition, governments would retaliate against you. Again, I go back to Maine because that's where I'm from. There was a breaking news story in Maine a month and a half ago, or a month ago, 2 months ago. A Maine state trooper by the name of George Loader. I got to keep my Georges straight because there's also the George Floyd case in Minneapolis. But he was a Maine state trooper. He is still a Maine state trooper. His name was George Loader. And he blew the whistle on a secret Maine state police task force called the Fusion Center, which was set up in the wake of 9/11 to spy on terrorists. He said that this Fusion Center was spying on peaceful protesters, was spying on a Jewish summer camp, was spying on, there's this big project where they're going to build a power corridor through the state of Maine, and a lot of people are protesting it. State police were spying on protesters against the power corridor, and several other people were being spied on, all illegally, without warrants, without probable cause. They were all peaceful protesters, and Maine State Trooper George Loader said that the Fusion Center, the secret Maine State Police organization, was spying on everybody. It's big news up in Maine right now, where I'm from. And his superiors, Lieutenant Scott Ireland and Lieutenant Michael Johnston, did not appreciate the fact that he blew the whistle on them and was saying that they were doing things illegal. So they retaliated against him, demoted him, took him out of a nice cushy job where he worked with the FBI as a liaison, and put him behind a desk and said he'll never ever be a detective or go out and do work again. And when he was in a meeting with them, he actually, after the meeting was going long, and he said to them, "Is it all right if I excuse myself to use the bathroom?" And they were like, "No, you can't excuse yourself to use the bathroom. We need to have this conversation. We need to finish this conversation." He's like, "Well, I have to go really bad." So he runs out into the hallway, he walks out into the hallway toward the bathroom. They follow him out into the hallway, yelling at him and demeaning him and saying that you can't hide from your responsibility. They're saying really mean things to him. All he was doing was blowing the whistle or telling them that he wasn't going to put up with their illegal spying on innocent citizens that were peacefully protesting. He wasn't going to do it. Anyway, because of the demotion, he ended up filing a lawsuit. The lawsuit made citizens of Maine aware of this secret center that was spying on them. And now it's come out that they've been spying on a lot of people. And this group called Blue Leaks hacked into their database and released tons of information from their database about people that they've spied on. And now every day new information comes out about how the Maine State Police have been spying on citizens without probable cause, have been doing things that you can only do with warrants. And it's this huge, huge story. So, yeah, people get retaliated against. Yeah, the government is messed up and they do corrupt and horrible things. And yeah, when you expose them, you get retaliated against, because he was a Maine State Trooper. He still is a Maine State Trooper, except now he's sitting behind a desk and bored out of his mind. He's probably playing Age of Empires. I think I just dated myself. That's the last video game I played, Age of Empires. Because he's got nothing else to do, because they've taken everything away from him. They do it to, if they can do it to a Maine State Trooper, they can do it to Millie Weaver for sure. And they're going to make his life a living hell until he finally is eligible to retire. That's just the truth of the matter. The same thing happened in New Jersey. A rookie trooper was just hired, really excited. Hey, I'm a trooper now. He's out on patrol with his training officer. His training officer does something. I don't recall what it is, but it was illegal. It was just wrong. Maybe planting drugs or something like that. It was really, really wrong. He stood up against it and said, hey, I'm not going to put up with that. And he was retaliated against. They made his life a living hell until finally he just quit and said, nope, this isn't for me. So yeah, the psychological toll of being retaliated against, it's deep. And Millie's going to go through something. She's going to go through a period of reflection. One thing that interests me so much in this story is my story of retaliation, where they searched my Facebook and they retaliated against me and denied me a PI license. And I have moments, it's not even as bad as what they did to Millie. At least they just denied me a license rather than charge me with a multiple of crimes that could get you in prison. I mean, what she's being charged with could put her in prison for quite a long period of time, at least a year, maybe. I don't know what the sentencing guidelines are in Ohio, but I'm going to guess somewhere above 5 years based on the charges that they threw at her. I don't know. Maybe let me know in the comments what you think. But yeah, it happens. Retaliation is real. I have moments where I'm driving to a case or I'm on a case, and all of a sudden this overwhelming flood of emotions comes in where you just get so pissed off that it's happening. And you think that it's never going to get better, but Millie's going to be going through some of these things. I'm not sure how long it will take. I mean, maybe this will all go away really fast based on the public outrage over it all. Or the public outrage over it all will cause the prosecutor to double down, because sometimes that's what they do. That's actually something that's wrong with our justice system. Our justice system is not about truth. It's not about justice. It's about two lawyers in a courtroom, a defense attorney and a prosecutor, that are playing a game. And the pieces of that game, the pawns on the chessboard, are you and me. And at the end of the game, the lawyer who did the better job, made the better argument, wins the case, and your life is affected for the rest of your life. Justice has nothing to do with our criminal justice system. Look up the judge in Millie's case. Hint, she has a drinking problem. I don't know. There's a CPS hearing in the AM over removing the kids. Where did you get that info? 10 years for burglary? Wow. So she's looking at 10 years, according to Michael. Sealed indictments, no bond, political hit job. Yeah, I think this is a political hit job, because I think that even though there is a narrative forming that maybe there was a legitimate thing that happened between Millie and her mother or her mother-in-law, in the end, the mother-in-law decided that she wanted to drop all the charges, but the prosecutor continued with them. And that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't ring true to me. If a prosecutor has the opportunity to drop a case, they usually just drop it. So I think you're right. Political pressure was applied to this prosecutor by somebody who was probably offended by Millie's documentary, and they wanted to retaliate against her, and so they put some pressure on the prosecutor, and the prosecutor did what she did with the grand jury and everything, and now Millie's arrested in prison. They arrest her on Friday night, Friday afternoon, so there's no chance she'll be able to get bonded out. She spends 3 or 4 days in prison. This reeks of retaliation. This reeks of it. I can't believe it's happened. It just blows my mind that something like this would actually happen. Tristan wrote, her liberal mother snitched on her for that check. Sounds about right. Yeah, that's sort of the narrative that's forming, that she has, her mother and her got into some sort of dispute. You can protect against the huge machine, not traditionally. Biden wants you to buy a shotgun. Not sure. Need to hide identity when coming out in public. Snowden taught us that. I suspect Snowden will get pardoned by President Trump. This will be good for Millie. Oh yeah, that's another, AJ should post a bond for her. That's another good point, that Millie was named recently, I think in 2017, as one of the 30 most influential Republicans under 30. Yeah, 30 most influential Republicans under 30. She was, and so she probably is on President Trump's radar, and he may step in, but he can only step in if it's a federal charge, and these are probably state charges. So I'm not sure he would have any power to step in. It would it would be the governor of Ohio. Does anybody know who the governor of Ohio is? Let me look it up. Governor of Ohio. Governor of Ohio is Mike Dewine, a Republican. So she has a chance. She has a chance that he's a Republican. If he stepped in, then this could all go away. In fact, maybe that's Dewine. Maybe Governor Dewine, there should be some sort of petition to have him pardon her, because he's the only one who can pardon her, reduce her sentence, do anything. If they're state charges, which they all are. Trump would not have any power to do anything like that. But, I mean, Trump could put pressure on Dewine. Mike Dewine, Governor Mike Dewine, 70, he's the same age as Trump. Republican Party, born January, he's a Capricorn. Richard Michael Dewine is an American politician and attorney currently serving as the 70th governor of Ohio, a member of the Republican Party. Dewine is a former United States senator elected in 1994 and re-elected in 2000. I don't know if I like that. He's an establishment person, but he would be Millie's best hope to get this taken care of ASAP. Or actually, you know, I might be showing my ignorance here, because maybe he couldn't step in until she's convicted of something. I'm not sure how that works. Does anybody know in the comments whether you can give a pardon before somebody's even convicted? Trump gives previews about what he will do, like calling the SecDef Mike Jesper yesterday, Secretary of Defense Mike Jesper yesterday. and second time he's talked about pardoning Snowden. Yeah, that is one thing I've noticed about President Trump, and I'm not the hugest fan of President Trump, to tell you the truth. I think he's an effective businessman. I do think that. I think he's not the best politician. He's not a very refined guy. I don't like that he insults people and makes up insulting names. I think that's troubling. But I do think that he's the best guy to be president in this election cycle. So that's what I'll say about him. But often, actually, my biggest thing about President Trump, while I'm on this, is that his detractors and all the people that do not like him basically are so deranged about their hatred for him that they force people like me, who are independent, who really don't care for him, to defend him and support him. And it's so stupid. Sometimes I think that the left side of the political equation always shoots themselves in the foot with almost everything they do. Like, for instance, this whole Black Lives Matter thing, which is a very important movement. I do agree that we need police reform, we need police accountability. But if you were trying to get police reform and police accountability implemented, the last thing in the world you should do is support riots and burning things and violence and looting. That's the opposite of what you would do if you actually wanted real police reform. In fact, I had this theory popped into my head that maybe the police are allowing these riots in Portland and places because they know, not the police, the dirty police, the bad, the corrupt police, the corrupt government officials, they're allowing all these riots to happen because that's the best way to prevent police accountability and police reform from happening. Anyway, that's a theory that I had about that. Let's go back to the comments here. Snowden gave our national secrets to both Russia and China. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Snowden. I hope he gets pardoned. He's probably living it up in where is he? Russia now. I think his wife or his girlfriend or somebody moved to Russia too. I'm sure he speaks Russian really well now. But I think what he did to expose the mass government surveillance that was going on was a good thing. In fact, his story has similarities to the story I told you about the Maine state trooper, George Loader, who exposed a state of Maine secret surveillance program, and he was retaliated against, and now will be on desk duty most likely for the rest of his career until he retires. I'm sure he's already thought about just quitting, resigning, but the stories are very similar. He got retaliated against. Snowden, he's facing the death penalty if he comes back to the United States right now. All he did was release some documents that we as Americans had the right to know about. Q says Snowden is a traitor. Yeah, my thoughts on Q is I have no thoughts on him. I just don't understand the whole Q movement. I have done a little research into Q. I've tried to watch some videos to understand. I can't understand what the appeal is there. You don't even know who, it's like this. It's not one person, it's many people. So maybe even if there is a legitimate Q that's giving you good messages, how can you differentiate them from all the non-Q people that are not legitimate, the fake Q people, the fake Qs? Q is dumb, I agree. Well, I don't know, some of the messages are okay, but makes you think. But most of them, you wonder where they're coming from. They're like in left field. It's hard to follow. She did nothing wrong. They did the same thing to Roger Stone. They will eventually do it to anyone they want to. It's all about protecting corruption. Maggotville, America Incorporated. Yeah, that's an interesting comment. I do agree that there seems to be this formula. I was actually doing research on this earlier today, whether there's actually a formula that governments use to squash criticism, to discredit the critics. I was just wondering if they use the same formula every time, because it does seem like part of the formula when you criticize the police is they find something to go after you on. Usually it's something legitimate. And then they go after you financially. They try to put a criminal charge on you. They try to ruin your life, make your life as uncomfortable as possible. I think there must be a formula. There must be some like class that is taught in like Yale or Harvard, where most of these government people are trained, that says, all right, when you become a government officer, this is how you squash criticism. And then they follow that formula and you get squashed as a critic. That's just, I mean, a theory, because it does seem like they follow this formula that works really well. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're labeled a fringe conspiracy person and banned from all the social media platforms. Watch Trump Tower Christmas elevator video. Okay. Look up William Cooper. All right, let's look up William Cooper. Let's see who this guy is. Never heard of him before. William Cooper. Many use AJ is a fraud too. Sorry. Garrett Bell wrote AJ is a fraud. Milton William Cooper. Is that who you're talking about? Milton William Cooper was an American conspiracy theorist, radio broadcaster, and author known for his 1991 book, Behold a Pale Horse, in which he warned of multiple global conspiracies, some involving extraterrestrial life. Interesting. He has been described as a militia theoretician. A militia theoretician? Well, this guy sounds like a interesting character. Cooper was born in 1943 to Air Force Lieutenant Milton Cooper. Little is known about Cooper's background and education beyond the information supplied in his own accounts. Behold a Pale Horse. Seems like an interesting person. Oh, Cooper proposed that AIDS was the result of a conspiracy to decrease the population of minorities. And interesting. Okay. I've had enough of looking into that guy. He sounds like an interesting character. Q gives misinformation to trick the deep state. Spread the word, don't forget. They want to divide us. Division is weak. Millie was going around smashing people's cell phones. Sounds out of character. Did you figure out that the keystone is yet? So, to be clear, that's just one email I got, or two or three. Actually, it was like 2 or 3 emails I got, to tell you the truth. Most of them said that they grabbed the mother's cell phone and deleted the pictures off it, and then gave the cell phone back to the mother after the pictures were deleted. I'm guessing that the story was, we don't know the story, first of all. Let's just put that out there. We won't know the story until Millie comes out and tells us what happened, or the mother comes out and tells us what happened. I did get an email from somebody who claims to be Millie's mother, but I'm skeptical of it. Didn't sound like a very motherly email to me. And I looked up the email address it came from, and yeah, it was one of those, you couldn't track it back to a person. And with the tools that I have, not being able to track an email back to somebody makes me highly skeptical. In case you don't know, I'm a private investigator. So I'm not sure that theory makes any sense, but she either smashed the cell phone. Oh, and also the theory is not that Millie smashed it. It could have been Gavin that smashed it. But again, we don't know. Either way, whatever happened, the mother decided against pressing charges, and then the prosecutor, on her own initiative, formed a grand jury to indict Millie and Gavin and one other person, I think Millie's brother. Yeah, the reference to BB gun, where's that? BlackBerry gun. It was funny when Millie's kids said, "Dad, get your BB gun." Yeah, I thought that was funny too. I mean, I thought that was interesting. What are they telling their kids in the Weaver household? Although, when I was a kid, I played with BB guns. I played with a stick that looked like a gun, whatever. When I was a kid, playing with guns was what boys did. Nowadays, if a boy's caught with a gun, they're sent to a therapist. It's disgusting what's going on in our world today. How much is money, is millennial, is she worth? Millions, I'd guess. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what the answer to that is. She's been I know that YouTubers that have her kind of level of success. Let's see how many subscribers she has. I know YouTubers with 100, 200, 300,000 subscribers are making enough money in ad revenue to support themselves. So let me check out Millie Weaver's channel. Yeah, she has 430,000 subscribers. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's a huge amount of money she's making. I don't know what 430,000 subscribers makes you. It's probably, about what you would make if you had a full-time job. Yeah, I agree, Grant. The video did seem odd. I agree. There was a number of things that seemed odd to me about the video. Like the fact that she's arrested when the sun's high in the sky and she doesn't get booked until 2 a.m. That doesn't add up to me. Also, the police officer did a few things that didn't add up. We never see Gavin in the video, not once, so we don't even know if he's even there, other than the police officer made reference to needing 2 cars. And then why do you need 2 cars? You got 2 seats in the back of a police car, don't you? They probably do have you sit there and wait until 2 a.m. to book you in. Yeah, that doesn't ring true to me. If you get there at 4 or 5, 4 from or even 6 or 7, from 6 to 2 a.m. is 8 hours. So they're going to have you sit in a chair for 8 hours? That just doesn't ring true to me. She seemed to putting it off, suggesting she was like, let me get this on video. Yeah, well, I mean, she is a reporter, and reporters try to get everything on video. And if there was ever a time in your life that you want a video camera rolling, it's when you're being arrested. There's no question about that. That's how it was for me the last time I went in. So you have some experience, obviously. So yeah, Millie Weaver's channel, she has 430 subscribers. Oh, interesting. She doesn't have a merch store, on her channel. There's no merch store, which is for a YouTuber. That's the merch store is an opportunity for additional revenue, and so for her not to have one, she's with 430,000 subscribers, she's given up some significant revenue there. So that would indicate she probably is making plenty of money somewhere. She's worth plenty of money. Maybe her boyfriend or husband is making plenty of money. So back to your question about how much is she worth? She probably is. She's probably well off. She's middle class, probably. Well, actually, I think I saw in the records that her house that she's living in is owned by her husband or her boyfriend, and they paid 230,000 for it. So it's probably worth 250 to 300,000 now. So that puts her squarely in the middle class. I have not heard of a cyber burglary yet. Yet that may come out that this was cyber burglary, where they downloaded or hacked the government and got classified documents. But so far, the story is not developing that way. The story is developing that the burglary had something to do with trying to recover a cell phone and take pictures, delete pictures off the cell phone, or smash the cell phone up. She does on her website. She sells merchandise on her website. Let's see. Go to her website. Subscribe star at Millie Weaver. Oh, it's like Millennial Millie or something, right? Millie Weaver website. So it's hardware related. Yeah, hardware related. That's the story that's developing. Again, we won't know until all the information comes out. Moxie, it's good stuff. If you see it in your store, try it. And I'm not being paid by Moxie. I just love Moxie. Millennial Millie, yeah. Here's her website. Probably going to sign off in about 10 minutes here. Millennial Millie is, yeah, oh yeah, she's got a gallery. Let's see. Yeah, a shop. So she is selling stuff. Let's see where her shop goes. I know that AJ has a shop. Yeah, she's selling AJ stuff. Yeah, her shop goes to AJ's place. So she must make money off AJ's store, the InfoWars store. She must be making money. She smashed her mom's government burner phone. Could have been. I don't know. Could have been. Totally could have been. That's a piece of the story I haven't heard yet, that it's a government burner phone. And I keep hearing that her mother's a liberal. Obama phone. Yeah, was it an Obama phone? Yeah, I've heard that a few times, that her mother is a liberal. But Millie is clearly a conservative, so there may be some tension there. People have posted the charges they found online, and during the call with Tori, they said it was robbery instead of burglary. They said it was robbery instead of burglary. Well, the difference between robbery and burglary sometimes is just whether the house is occupied, so keep that in mind. The house that's being broken into, or robbery is sometimes doesn't involve a house. Depends. It seems like every county or every state has different laws that define burglary and robbery the way they do. They were probably printing documents, printed documents, not digital ones. Yeah, well, that's the theory, that the mother took pictures of documents that were laying around in Millie's house when she came to visit at some point. So the story is that she took pictures of the documents. Millie and Gavin found out about it. They went to their mother's house later, and like days later, a period of time had passed. And then they confronted the mother about this and said, hey, we need you to delete those documents off your phone. She argued the point, pressed the point, decided not to do it or something. So Gavin and Millie then took the phone, stole the phone, either smashed it up or deleted the stuff, and then they left the house and gave the phone back to the mother. The mother filed charges, but then later changed her mind. Her documentary is being taken down faster than people can upload. One was taken down midway through. It's insane. All of this YouTube resources on this really make you think. Millie said it was inside her house, so burglary, trespassing. It was ridiculous. So they slapped her with robbery instead for grabbing the phone. It's been implied the mother is an addict. Well, that's the first time I've heard that, so that's new information. Sounds like Richard Springer Court TV nonsense. Yeah, you know, the one thing that bothers me the most about this is if the government is trying to paint Millie as this sort of white trash, redneck, hillbilly, conspiracy theorist, nut type person. Reading some of these comments, getting some of these emails I've been getting, you know, they're having a limited degree of success there. She was stupid if she had secret stuff at her house. I'm not sure I'd agree with that because maybe it was not smart for her to have it all laid out. If it was easily seen, maybe she should have had it in a safe. I mean, you can make arguments all different ways, but if the mother maybe knew that she was working on something and went looking for it, you know, maybe the mother is also deserves a few charges here too. Yeah, so Millie's store sells fusion mineral vitamins and survival shield and brain force and a bunch of supplements and things that most people don't take. It's probably all really overpriced stuff. You know, when I was young in college, I went and worked for a call center that was an inbound phone call center that we would answer calls of people that were calling based on late night infomercials, and they trained us how to sell pretty much all this stuff that I'm seeing right here on Millie's store. And people would call in thinking that they were going to buy a bottle of brain force or something that would cost them $30, and we were trained to get them to spend $200 and then get a monthly subscription to it. So whenever I see products like this, I think shady. I'm not saying these are shady. I would have to research them, but this store kind of looks shady to me. I don't know much about it, but anyway, if this is what supports her, then and she's doing good, and people like it, then I have no problem with capitalism happening. Capitalism is a good thing. Oh, Sean says the prices are quite good, but also it's like a fundraiser similar to selling candy bars for $1. It's just that you get the rare things nobody talks about that may help some people. Yeah, I can see that. I can buy into that. Maybe the products are a little overpriced, but you're helping out, you know, these reporters and these people that you support. So yeah, I totally can buy into that. Holistic herbal medicine is better than big pharma. Yeah, I can buy into that too. Anyway, this is a crazy story, and I think that I'll be interested to see how it develops tomorrow. Of course, I'm going to be on a investigation tomorrow, so I'll be following it on the radio or on the internet with my iPad. Check in when I can, but I am very, very curious what the update is going to be tomorrow and what comes out of this, because to me it looks like there's no reason on God's green earth that she should have been charged. She should have been arrested. Should be spending time in jail. Oh yeah, and it just popped in my head right now how this is going to affect her children, her son, for the rest of his life. The rest of his life. When I was a kid, maybe 10 or 11 years old, my dad and mom were having a bonfire. They were having a bonfire in the field by our house, and my mom, for whatever reason, decided that there was this old tire she didn't want anymore, so she threw the tire into the bonfire. Black smoke comes billowing out everywhere. There's nothing they can do. Police show up and they say, we know that you threw something on that fire that you shouldn't have thrown on the fire. And my mom, of course, is not wondering what's going to happen. And my dad steps in and says, yeah, I threw a tire on the fire, or something like that. The statute of limitations is well past. So if there are any police listening to this story, there's nothing you can do about it now. But anyway, my mother threw the tire on the fire. Police show up. My dad says, yeah, I threw the tire on the fire. They arrest him on the spot. I'm watching this whole thing go down. They take him off to prison. He's in prison for a day or two until he gets bonded out, very similar to this. Turned into a big, huge thing. So, and that has affected me the rest of my life. I always cringe when I think of that story, of how, I mean, maybe they did something wrong, maybe they didn't, but really throwing one tire onto a bonfire, it didn't seem to me like going to prison for doing that made any sense. Yeah, having parents go to jail sucks bad, especially when the parent is arrested on a trumped up charge. It was hard on our daughter. Yeah, it affected me the rest of my life. And now Millie's young children, I'm hoping, I guess she has a younger daughter that probably is not going to remember this. Thank goodness for that. But her son is going to remember it. He was the one that was saying, hey, go get your BB gun. Yeah, that's going to really affect them for the rest of their life. All right, it's 10. I got to go to bed. 9-month-old, that's right. I got to work a case tomorrow. Thanks for watching this live stream. Please comment on it in the comment section after it goes. I will be following the comments. This story is a very important story. And what if she was breastfeeds her infant? That's a good point. Did her son really said she was never coming back? I don't know if I heard that, but it's possible. This is a very important story because the government retaliated against somebody. And even if there's something to the whole domestic jail, even if there is something to this domestic assault thing, when the victim says they don't want to press charges, 99.9% of the time, the same amount of people that survive from COVID, 99.99999% of the time, the prosecutors drop it and move on with their life. But they didn't do it this time. This time, they used this as a way to retaliate against Millie. I'm not sure the prosecutor was the one to do it. I think that some politician in power that doesn't like Millie and the documentary that she's releasing, they did it. They called the prosecutor, put pressure on them to retaliate. The prosecutor retaliates, and now Millie's whole life is in an uproar, all because of stupid government corruption and retaliation. Also, if you don't mind subscribing to my channel, hitting the like button, put that like button. If you hit the like button, it helps this video and all my other videos get spread around YouTube. And definitely subscribe to my channel. But most importantly, leave a comment. Either in the comments after this goes, especially if you're watching this after it's no longer live, leave a comment based on your thoughts on this story. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now.